Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and we are now at one of the more highly anticipated panels of the entire event with some great friends personally and of the Fixed Ops community. I'd like to welcome Rebecca Chernick from Chernick Consulting. Rebecca is very instrumental because we probably would not be here today at a Fixed Ops Roundtable without her, because she convinced me about 3 years ago to begin this initiative in a little boardroom in New York with a small undertaking, and now it has grown immeasurably. Rebecca, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
It's definitely a pleasure to be here with you, Ted, and I'm so excited for you. You have taken this initiative and definitely have blown it up big. So it's a
Well, I'm
pleasure.
I'm excited for you as well, because what you're going to be talking about today is something that you started a conversation on a couple years back at our very first Fixed Ops Roundtable. And look at the panel you've assembled here today. I want to welcome Adam Aarons, who is the owner of the Patriot Automotive Group in New England. Adam, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Well, it's an honor to be here, and I will say this: to share and to learn, right? So this is probably the first time I'm going to write down more notes than I'm going to do sharing. So this is a really interesting opportunity for us to explore what goes on in our stores. But I learned a lot in preparing for this.
Well, Adam, you have been very instrumental in so many of these events. And I would never have met you without Rebecca, because she brought you to an early event in July of 2019. But I have to tell this, everybody. We are in the midst of this huge fundraiser these last couple months and at today's event for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And as you all recall, Tom Dahl, the president and CEO of Subaru, spoke at our last event. And Tom would not have been here were it not for Adam Aarons. Adam is responsible really for assembling this great talent that we've put together to raise these funds. And Adam, I want to thank you and Patriot Automotive Group also for your very generous contribution. Again, you really kicked us off to a great start, and your generosity, not just for this cause, but for sure the love and all that Subaru and your brands do. So, Adam, thank you on behalf of the Fixed Ops community.
Well, you're certainly welcome, and we hope we can continue to do more for everybody. I think, the way other people run their business sometimes is to make a lot of money, and maybe we do it to share a lot of money. I don't hesitate to say that I think almost every retailer dealer in the country has enough for them and their family. So giving back should be primary for them. And I've learned that the more I give, the more I get. So we're happy to do that.
And an amazing culture at your dealer group, Adam. So thank you so much. We look forward to hearing more about that today. I want to also welcome Christine Farnan. Christine is a great friend of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and she has spoken here on a number of events. Christine, welcome back to the conference.
Thank you, Ted. It's great to be back. And I am very happy to be here today with you. We did do a panel going back about 7-8 months ago, a little bit about the same subject that we're going to discuss today. But I'm excited today working with Becky and with Adam and with Brian. So I think we're going to be able to really give some great information.
And Christine, I want to thank you also for your generous contribution, as well as Rebecca Chernick for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So thank you for all you do. And I want to welcome a first-timer here to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Brian Davis from Orby. Brian, welcome to the event.
Thank you, Ted. I appreciate it. I've been a long-time listener and really very much support what you all do for the community. Happy to learn and happy to contribute as well. So thanks again.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. And Rebecca has said so many positive things about all that you bring to the conference. So we're excited. So with that, Becky, I'm going to step out of the way. I'm going to let you take over, and I'll see you in a little while.
Here I am, turning it back on. So again, guys, it is certainly a pleasure to have this group come together. And as Ted mentioned, 3 years ago, I'm working with a dealer group, and we had always had this. We embraced the idea behind a service, after-sales service process, and for whatever reason, we're never able to get traction, and it just doesn't seem to stick. And we put these ideas and practices in place, but it never really took off. So I thought, rather than banging my head up against the wall, why don't we rethink this and figure out a way? Maybe we can automate this to some degree, bypass maybe the F&I person because maybe they're too busy, and or bypass the service writer to some degree, not to all degrees, but to some degree, and just make it easier. So I contacted a tech provider, and wouldn't you know it, Joe, he was working Tech Assured. He was working on this, and he actually created more of a follow-up process. And what he did was he had the ability, we had the ability to email that customer after sale, but with a link that went back to the dealership's website, back on the back page. And this offered all the products, ancillary products, service contracts that the customer didn't take advantage of at time of delivery, which is so important because we want to be back in front of that customer. But how do we do that effectively? So we had the customer have access to this link, and it opened up that availability. They were able to shop for those additional products, even find more information out, knowledge based. And from there, they were actually able to check out via a shopping cart, similar to Amazon. And I'm thinking, man, this is the ticket. This is what we need to do. Make it easier on everyone. Okay. So then it wasn't shortly afterwards, I meet up with Steve Apicella. And unfortunately, Steve cannot be here today, but he had created, or he had been working on this app solution. And this app unified in one process, or kept this in place to get push notifications. So should the customer not have taken advantage of any of these ancillary products, get those products in front of the customer after the fact. And then, of course, he was still working on the ability to check out, meaning the customer could actually check out via his app. At that time, 3 years ago, that wasn't available. Imagine the technology and where it's going today. It's amazing from 3 years to where we are today. But that at that time wasn't made available. And then later, and then also with the ability to handle these claim processing and take some of that headache away. And I tell you right now, more dealers, customers, F&I managers, we all want to simplify that claim processing, and make it so the customer really enjoys the overall experience, and it's the experience that is continues after after delivery. And it's so, we talk about the connect to disconnect. I'm going to have Adam Aarons talk a little bit more on that piece and how he addresses that, and the importance of making sure that we have that transition from F&I to that service department. So Adam, take it on.
Well, thank you, Becky, and thank you to Ted for creating this forum for us to share with. As I said earlier, I'm here to take notes, but I'm also here to share, because when I was invited to do this, I was like, I'm probably the wrong person to ask to do this, because I'm not sure what my process is as it relates to much of this, or if I even have a process. And in my notes, I started with the 4 Ps that I always write down, which is people, pay plan, process, and product, right? And how to pull these things together. So I asked service manager in one of my stores and then another one to let me have lunch with the service advisors, and that the service BDC and the quick service would handle the drive for a lunch, where I was going to ask them where the disconnect is and whether there is a disconnect, right? So I learned a couple of things. Again, and for your notes, you don't have to have the service manager there, because if the service manager already knows about these problems and they haven't fixed them, then maybe they shouldn't be in that meeting, and then we can come back to them with some real information. Second thing I learned was that service advisors will eat anything if you buy it for them. If it's free, it's for me, it seems like. So I asked them what they want, and they basically said anything. And then they started to talk about, my question was, what's the struggle as a service advisor? What are the biggest struggles that you face? And I wasn't surprised by the first few things that I heard. The first one was the phone ringing and being paged while they're standing in front of a customer. Customers upset about the amount that it costs. And then they also talked about denied claims. because a customer hasn't done their maintenance and things like that. And I said, okay. So is there ever a chance that you have an opportunity to sell a service contract? And they said, yeah, when a car's broken. It's not too hard to sell somebody a service contract, but I can't sell it to them when the car is broken. And so then I asked them about the claims process. That was the next question. And they said, with our products, not a disaster. With anybody else's product, a complete disaster. So we came up with a solution, and I'm going to run this by you guys, and maybe you guys can use it. Doesn't take any technology, doesn't take anything. But we came up with a sticker that says, don't buy a warranty over the phone. As you know, customers are bombarded on their cell phone for some reason to buy a warranty or service contract. And they said these service contracts are a complete disaster. They think it's bumper to bumper. Every single one of them requires a phone call, believe it or not, a fax. And most of them, if they're over a couple of $100, require an inspector. And we all know what the job market looks like now. So getting an inspector out to look at a job means somebody's car might be down for 5 days for something that should absolutely be covered because they bought a warranty from a company that makes money by denying claims. And so we've decided to let our customers know, and that creates the opportunity for us to have a conversation about it. But then I had to ask a lot more about the claims process. And they said, it's great when somebody comes in with a service contract, but sometimes I don't know they have one. So that was another thing that we needed to address, and we are currently addressing. And I think Becky and some of our technology consultants will help us with that. And then we also identified the fact that our service advisors feel like a lot of good things are happening in the store. They know right now, because we share with them, that it's the most profitable time in the car business for many people, but maybe not for service advisors and maybe not for techs. Because of the lower amount of sales, they're seeing a little bit less maintenance. They are seeing some more repairs now because people are holding their cars longer. But let me go back to the beginning of this. You want to find out what's going on in your service lane, how to make their job easier? Talk to your service advisors. And just have a nice casual luncheon. And by the way, I don't mean to point the finger at people like me, but 90% of the people that run car dealerships didn't come through the service department as their primary entry to getting their car dealership. So for me, I came through the sales side, spent some time in service, but never had to be in service and face what they face. So listening is really what this is going to be all about. But I will tell you this, the last thing I'll say is people will buy more than you can ever sell them if you make it easy for them to buy. So with that, I'll turn it back to Becky, and I'm here to help. And thanks for sharing with us.
I do feel like that's very important. I've had conversation recently with another, just a terrific GM, and you probably know him, is Brian Kramer. And one of the things that he does really well with is that he gets everyone together, just like Adam, and getting into the minutia of what is the process, what's working, and why it's not working, and how can we do a better job in putting these pieces together, however which way that you want to do it. Me, I like to automate things. I like to make it easier. Not everybody's going to be doing what I want to do. Every dealer is different, but if in fact that's the case, obviously it's so important to really have a good understanding of what's really taking place in your store, so you can determine and identify the process. Adam?
Yeah, one of the things that we learned was that they buy more service contracts and or F&I products by accident after they leave the dealership. So we have to change the amount of times they have an accident, as it were, or change the process, right? So I did ask at each of the luncheons, I said, so why is it you don't sell maintenance and you love it when they have our maintenance product? Or why is it you don't upgrade their maintenance product? They said, on the list of all the things that I have to do, it doesn't matter how much you pay me, I'm never going to get there. I'm just never going to get there. I said, so if we paid you $200 per service contract and $100 per maintenance contract, and you could sell them for almost nothing, you still wouldn't get there. Correct. So I'm here to listen to what's working in other places, but I do know this. Um, 40 years ago, when I got in the car business, our processes looked similar. Now we have all this technology and our process still looks similar. Maybe it's time to change the process.
Amen. Definitely. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Christine. Let's talk through this. You're in a lot of stores, and I'm sure over the years, with your experience and know-how, you have done everything under the sun to implement this after-sale process. You've talked about it before in one of the fixed ops roundtable. So let's hear it from you, Christine.
Okay, well, Adam, thank you. I mean, everything he said was 100%, and some of which I'm going to say over again. But I totally agree with what both of you are saying. That, let's face it, vehicles are sold today, through DMV. Customers' information becomes public information. There's a lot of companies, like Adam was saying, they're out there, and these companies are going after your customers and calling them, sending them things, and trying to get them to buy their service contracts, which in turn creates a big problem in most dealerships. And I found that all the different companies that are out there that are calling, and they're advertising on TV, and the customers fall prey to, dealers don't want to deal with their contracts. And a lot of them won't accept them anymore. So we found that has created also, a big problem for dealers. But by dealers not presenting in the service drive, okay, to their customers or having a strong process, it also gives the customer, they have enormous opportunities. That's why a lot of them sell maintenance, because they want to retain their customers. They want to have customer retention. So it's really, really important that I think the dealers do come up with some sort of program, whether it's digital, whether it's through their websites or doing the face-to-face in contact with their customers. I think they need to have something like that in place. I think that over the years I've had numerous dealers that are doing very well with selling through the drive, but it's not consistent. I could be in there every day of the week and training and retraining and going over things, because face it, the turnover is high in some stores. They're not consistent, and it makes it not work long term. The same thing you're talking about F&I. I mean, I still have a lot of people say, oh, well, we turn over to the F&I department. Okay. How many times does that happen? Not many. And then what happens is the service advisor brings the customer out, the business manager is in with the customer. Then what does he do? That customer doesn't want to wait a half an hour, 20 minutes, or whatever it is. So it creates a bottleneck, and it creates problems, for that customer. The other thing too, I've always said to my guys and my gals in the box, in the F&I office, I mean, go out on a daily basis. Look and see what's there. What's coming in? There's a lot of customers that are going to be almost over their 336, their 450s, whatever. Take time to inspect it and look at it. That way you can get customers that come over. You can go out and meet the customer there. I mean, things like this can happen. I've seen them happen, but success rate is very, 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 very low. And overall, once again, without a process, a proven process, like I have instituted for many years in my stores and done the follow-up on, they really don't seem to get anywhere. But I need the dealer on my end to back me up and make people accountable for what they're doing. And that seems to be where the whole thing kind of just goes. And we don't seem to have that. So as you talk about the digital age and digital and the website situation with websites and back shopping carts in the dealer's website, having a shopping cart. I mean, these are all things that should be there for the dealer, for the customer. If a customer goes on a dealer's website, they should see what programs are available. If you go back and you go through all your competitors, you're going to find that a lot of them don't have that. And you're going to find that a lot of them just strictly have OEM websites. I think in today's market, we have to have more digital. Not saying to totally think that the face-to-face isn't important, because it is important. Another option, I have stores and I've seen stores that have somebody specially in the back, maybe a part-time F&I person, or, somebody that can work with the customers. I say part-time, I think it could be a full-time job for a dealer that has 1,500, 2,000 ROs a month, or even less, depending how it's set up. I mean, I don't think that it's a bad way to have somebody who's a customer service person in the back end, So I think that it can be done my way, or our old way, but there's always been a lot of disconnect. So, that's where we're at today with that. I'm not really telling you too much that you don't already know, and Adam brought it up too, but it's really true. There is a disconnect. But I've also seen some of my associates around the country that are very, very successful. So it takes a strong process, a strong fixed ops director, a strong service director, and accountability to do it, like we said, the old-fashioned way from years ago. But products should be sold on the back end. They should be.
And, Christine, I think you hit the nail on the head. And it is a process that you keep, that's got to be measured. We've got to have some accountability to what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. One of the reasons I invited Brian here to the panel, because I felt like it was really important. And this is conversation that's going on in the industry. Recently, as you well know, I went into Clubhouse, and I'm glad I did, because now I'm in some of these rooms and hearing some good conversation going on, what's really taking place in these dealerships. And today, actually this morning, it was about, we have a lot of data. Dealers can get hands on data there's a lot going on there. But what are we doing with that data? How do we make it quantifiable? How do we use this data to help us process through these steps, however which way a dealer would want to, I would imagine, process to assure that what they're doing makes sense. So whether that be the products on the dealership website versus are we doing it via an app, that sort of thing. Does our process make sense, and are we getting benefit from that? So Brian, if you will, let's talk a little bit through that. This is what you do. This is definitely your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I mean, my wheelhouse started 20 years ago in retail, in the stores, and I was a part of that process where we were pre-selling products to customers as we were doing our consultations and our walkarounds, and trying to understand what those needs might be, and sort of teeing up the sales managers and F&I managers, for a successful venture in that box we try not to talk about. But yeah, I mean, Becky, I was on the same Clubhouse this morning. I think it was David Long who said, don't give me more data. I've got data coming out of my ears. And Adam, he's hearing the same thing. We've just got data overload. And so it makes technology a little bit frustrating. So what I think I've learned in the past 20 years in dealerships is that dealers don't really have a lot of time to cut data and slice it up and make it usable. Likewise, their people don't have a lot of time to re-envision processes and execute them. Like Christine was saying, a lot of people have it and then it fizzles off. One of the things that technology vendors do, and I think one of the things that's very important to remember, is that technology vendors all rely on dealerships' data to provide a successful service. If they're a service tool, if they're digital retailing, we have to have dealerships' data. And what I mean by that is we need first-party data. We need the transactional information of what's going on between the dealership and their customer in order to execute the digital retailing process, the flavor you choose, or your service appointment maker on your website, or your check-in tool, whatever you have. What's important to remember is that those people rely on the dealership's data. And so my question typically to dealerships is, if they're relying on your data, what are you doing with it as well? Do you have the transparency you need to make data actionable? So I think it's really important within this framework of service contracts and continuing to protect customers and serve them well as our community dealerships, is there's a lot of opportunity throughout the buying process, the shopping process, the discovery and information gathering process before someone ever buys a car, where we could be introducing products, where we could talk about protection options. Traditionally with a new car, right, people are going to get an option to buy extended service contracts and used cars as well. And at this point in time, there are opportunities to show new car shoppers who are out there and maybe aren't finding what they want, why a used car would be a good option for them with the addition of protection. So I think part of that is, how do I figure out what all of my customers are doing? And how do I sell to them the right way? We can listen to the dealership's website data and we can understand the browsing language. So if somebody is considering a new car that you may not have in stock, and they're also thinking about used cars, you have an opportunity to educate that person in real time to tell them, hey, a used car may be a great option. It's here today. And here are some things we can do to help you secure your purchase and to have peace of mind that you might not need a new car right now. And likewise, on the back end of things, after people leave, maybe they don't even remember being presented with products. Maybe our F&I manager slipped up, or maybe it was a cash deal. They didn't even want to spend time with them. After they've left the dealership, you have a short period of time, 30, 60, 90 days, that's absolutely critical to protect that customer before they go and buy that service contract over the phone, like Adam was trying to tell his folks not to. You may not even see that person in the service drive in time to alleviate that concern. So likewise, by understanding where people are digitally, they've purchased, are they revisiting the website looking for more information? And are you providing that information? I think we can automate the process of pushing the information in front of the right person at the right time by understanding where they are in their journey of ownership, so that we can benefit from the additional product sales, the one-to-one relationship with that customer and also that service contract provider, and really help make this an actual ownership experience that's less segmented. I think it all comes back to dealerships understanding that their data is absolutely imperative and powerful. And if we're not understanding what is happening on our websites and in our products, we are missing huge opportunities to serve our customers.
And Brian, you're doing some fascinating things over at Orbi. So that is definitely your wheelhouse and your space. I've learned a whole lot about what you folks are doing, and it's really, it's really paramount for dealers. Adam, I saw just a little earlier you had your hand up, and I know you wanted to add something. So let me come back to you, if I may, Adam.
Well, I just wanted to talk about, we know what doesn't work, and Brian brings it up. Selling somebody a service contract is not a one-time, it either works or it doesn't. It's a do or die. Same thing about maintenance. But I'm going to tell you that the impact of that 1 cent sticker, and by the way, that's what it costs, of don't buy a warranty over the phone. You stick it on every RO when you give it to the customer, or you leave it in the seat of the car as they pick up their car, and it starts a conversation. We believe that if you start where they are, that they will engage. So everybody in the world knows that when their phone rings sometime between 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and it says unknown number, that the chances are they either want you to help with your Visa Discover card or sell you a warranty, right? My student loans are paid back, by the way. So that's where they are. So they have that conversation. And by the way, we have a program here that allows you to not only purchase one, but to purchase the right one for you and your circumstances. And by the way, we don't do this only to make money. We do this to make your life easier. But, Brian brought it up and Becky brought it up earlier. We have an app that has Patriot Auto Group on it. Step number 1. Step number 2 is get people to download it. Step number 3 is to make sure that the information that they need, want, and should have is in that app. And I know that Steve's not here, but our app allows them to refer a friend to us. Our app allows us to engage in a claim process. Our app allows us to engage the customer in buying a product afterwards. So, my resistance was from my sales side when they said, well, the people don't want to have the app because they have to have a manufacturer's app. And I said, no, the more important thing is that they have our app. And I will tell you, with multiple stores, we can beta test something. And we did in our Nissan store, which the service lane was slow when we took over that store. And we gave away a year's worth of maintenance. That first year's worth of maintenance in a small store has produced $1 million worth of revenue 2 years later.
Wow.
So the question is, and I'm not saying it's all incremental. It's definitely not all incremental. Some of it would have come in. But the reality is that those people are giving us an opportunity to train them by bringing their car to us for a couple of maintenances, right? 1 year's worth of basic maintenance on a new or used car, and now $1 million worth of revenue out of 2 years later out of it. So I will tell you that if you are in the note-taking phase of this, great, get the sticker, make sure you have an app, and the app should be consistent from your website to your customer to your claims process. And if you can do all of that, I think we might have made some service advisors' lives easier today.
And Adam, I think from what I hear, you're doing it now. And I believe, Becky, this is just the beginning of the conversation. And these are going to be opportunities for our retailers from now into the near future. And I'm going to have to invite you all back because we're out of time today. But I want to thank you so much for getting our conversation started. Rebecca Chernick, Adam Aarons at Patriot Automotive Group, thank you so much. And by the way, you've got a new customer who's going to be downloading that app. My daughter is really enjoying her new Subaru Crosstrek. So thank you so much for the white glove service and delivering that to the college for her on the new car carrier. So that impressed a lot of students, Adam. So I think you got a whole lot of positive marketing this week over at State University of New York in Purchase. Christine Farnan, thank you so much. Very, very insightful, the things that you've added to the roundtable. And Brian Davis, again, we're going to have you back as well, because I know we're just scratching the tip of the iceberg. So Becky, if our audience wants to reach out to you and find out more about what you do, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, you can feel free to call me at 404-276-4026, or certainly email me at becky@chernickconsulting.com, or even bchernick@gmail.com. Yes. And also every Wednesday, 7 p.m., have to mention Live Talk with Becky Chernick. And you got to be there because we have some excellent guest speakers. And one of these days, I'm going to go ahead and get Mr. Adam Aarons on there with me. And also Christine, and also Brian. And maybe we can get Ted Ings back too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm there with you every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time listening in. So on behalf of the Fixed Apps Roundtable, thank you so much, Rebecca Chernick, Adam Aarons, Christine Farnan, and Brian Davis.
Thanks, Ted.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Bye.